Well, today is my B-day, and it took me a while to find this hat, which for the sake of time I don't think I'm gonna need for this video. I feel like since this video was gonna be on my special day, then at the very least I should talk about something special. Something that has affected me up until this day. And I know I haven't done an anime review on this channel, and I teased it for years, so I figure it'd be a great time to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be doing my first anime review about not Sekirei. Okay, I'm sorry, let me explain. I know I promised that I would make a Sekirei review after the last three I made, I guess, a few years ago. To be fair, it's important to know that I never even finished Sekirei. Like, my rule for doing anime reviews is kind of simple. If I see the entire anime, which kind of explains the fall picks, I can do a review. Because I would be watching the whole anime, if not the whole season, to get my whole full thoughts on it, to be fair. Which is why, technically, my anime fall picks don't necessarily count as reviews, because you figured I just started watching those shows. And that definitely implies with the Peter Grill, Uzaki, and the Retta Girlfriend video. Because I never actually finished those, and they're actually done. Oh wait, I just realized I did finish Uzaki. But the point is, while Sekirei is the first anime I watched, it's not necessarily a good one I like to bring up the fact that I started with. I wouldn't say it's my gateway anime per se. I feel like there's two pathways a person can go to. Like, their actions can depend on how they're gonna be. They can end up being good or they can end up being bad. Young me has been in the middle of that spectrum. No, I'm not even kidding. When it comes to the case of being good or bad, I choose to not be any of those. Like, I wasn't that bad as a kid, but I wasn't necessarily good or bright as a kid, to be fair. And heck, I may seem like I'm a pretty witted kid, but half of the time I don't know what I'm doing. Or I'm sitting here thinking to my young self, what were you doing? But it's no shame on young me, because growing up, after seeing Sekirei and a bunch of other animes that might have grounded the fact that I shouldn't watch anime in public, I was kind of, well, not antisocial, but I never told my friends that I was kind of a secret weeb. Because I would, during the weekends or Friday nights, I would, I don't know if I went to bed early for this, but I would stay up late at night watching anime while everyone's asleep. I know this sounds sus, but hear me out. It's only because I felt like the reasons why, I couldn't watch anime in public is because, people would see the whole lewd I keep making up words. People would basically just see how lewd, corrupting, and pretty, I don't know, untamed it is. What kind of adjectives do I come up with this world? Well, basically, I never told people about anime because, I figured they would think I'm some sort of pervert, which I'm far from that, if any case. But I felt like middle school me might have read to the other direction. But that being said, though, I took my sweet time losing sleep just to watch, I don't know, some anime that interests me. Heck, I even remember watching another show after this one anime. But I think it's important to know that there was an anime that was pretty much worth it to stay up at night watching. An anime that is probably well known for certain characters and memes. But, I'm gonna say it anyway. My favorite anime of all time is Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions. Now, unlike Sekirei for it being the first anime, showing me how lewd and crazy and weird anime could be, Chunibyo was practically the opposite. It was calm and had a nice story, lovely characters. It was just fun to watch. And hell, even at a young age, young me was, I wouldn't say he was hyped or intrigued. No, he was intrigued with the story. This was the point of my life where I had to watch movies twice to figure out what the plot was and what was going on, or if I missed a plot point or two. But no, I sat in my bed watching the anime, not some sort of weird sus way, but I sat there paying attention, and I really got into it because it was just a nice show, okay? No one could understand back then. Even though I had a couple of other friends that were weebs in middle school, but I never said it to them. But why is this the case? Why is Chunibyo more respected from me than Sekirei is? Well, I feel like I can, explain the reasons why I love Chunibyo more than Sekirei, or just talk about Chunibyo in general, by, doing a nice little review on it. And what better way to do your first anime review than your favorite anime of all time? This is my first anime review of Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions. So I feel like I'm going to talk about this in the same way I did with Summing Up with Ozaki, which is going to be different. I'll state the facts, name out the plot, and talk about the characters. And I'll name down my points by the end of this. So, Chunibyo was produced by Kyoto Animation. For those who remember that one video I did, I think earlier this year. It was directed by Tetsuya Ishihara. I think I've watched this anime so much I never knew if it had a manga like all the other ones I've seen. Funny enough though, the original title of this anime translates to accurate titles such as Even with 8th Grader Syndrome, I Want to Fall in Love, or Regardless of My Adolescent Delusions of Grandeur, I Want to Date. I mean, if they had these titles, I'm assuming the perspective would be a little different, but I would still love it. The anime actually came around 2012 and was followed by a recapped movie by Rika, which, funny enough, had context for the next series of the anime being Heartthrob. I say this because it took me a few years after watching the show twice to see the movie, and Rika staying with Yuta makes sense to me now. I only saw the show's dub and I couldn't find a way to see the movies back then, which, yeah, there is a second movie, and without spoiling it, caps off the series nicely. But what is Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions about? Well, it's about a guy named Yuta Takashi who transfers to a new school to avoid any familiar faces as he was cursed with Chunibyo once. Now, before I continue, allow me to explain. Chunibyo, or I stated before, 8th Grader Syndrome, is a phase where a kid acts like they're a badass character from an anime or manga, and they act like they have powers and pretends to like things such as black coffee, which I don't know what's up with that. I want to say I was kind of guilty of something like that, but it was before Chunibyo, so I refuse to say it was kind of like that. Also, I was way younger and pretended to act like that. Unfortunately though, he ends up crossing paths with Rika Takanashi, his upstairs neighbor that's full-blown Chunibyo. She calls herself the Eye of the Wicked Lord, a fallen angel with dark powers. Speaking of dark, Yuta's Chunibyo self back in the day was called the Dark Flame Master, which for some reason reminds me of Shadow. The Hedgehog, I mean. So throughout the show, Yuta basically keeps an eye on her, or is probably being blackmailed by her big sister Toka, but he makes sure that she doesn't embarrass herself or confuses people. He's like a spokesperson for her. Now, to be honest, I love Rika's dub voice in this one. Margaret McDonald gives out a lovely performance. She makes Rika sound like a mature, serious woman to an adorable puppy. But those ain't the only two characters in this show. There's Kumin Sayuri, who is honestly kind of an expert when it comes to sleep. I thought Saya from Sleeping Princess was an expert when it comes to what you should have in your room when you need to sleep, but Kumin's an expert on sleeping, that she knows like perfect posture, how you sleep, or what dreams are. She carries a pillow everywhere she goes, looks like a sheet. It's adorable. But in a way, honestly, Kumin's actually that one kid that is so in good spirits that she knows something good is gonna happen. Like, she's that one person that's like, I feel like it's gonna turn out somehow. She's that character, and it usually turns out, yes. It's kind of ironic seeing how innocent she is. And because of the innocence, I guess, she kind of gets smooched into Rika's Chunibyo ways. She doesn't understand her, but it's not like she judges her or prevents her from doing it. But despite Kermit being my favorite waifu growing up, at the start, my favorite waifu and the number one person that got me into watching the anime was Sainai Dekamori. Honestly, after seeing a clip of this show and how, I guess, cute Dekamori looked, I was like, hey, I think I should watch this show. That's kind of how young me got into it, I guess. But Dekamori is basically Rika's trusted ally / servant, wielder of the Mjolnir hammer. Yeah, I know what you're probably thinking. But she was honestly, I can't say she was honestly because I still love her to this day. She's more energetic, more cool, somewhat bold, and I just love her voice. I like to think this is one of Brittany Karbowski's best voices, or characters that she voiced anyway. But, I mean, despite me not knowing the term waifu growing up, she was my first waifu because she was the main reason I wanted to watch the anime, Harsh, and I don't know, I just loved her. But I guess after seeing most of the characters, I kind of branched out with favorite characters anyway. But I do love her. I can't really just explain it. Just look at Dekamori's scenes with just a smile, like she's just lovely. But I guess speaking of boldness, there is one person that she despises yet tortures on a daily basis. That person would be Shika Nibatani. Now, if you're probably looking at this person, you're probably thinking, well, why would Dekamori want to hurt this girl? Why would she want to torture her and stuff? Well, funny enough, Nibatani was actually Yuta's first crush when he got to the school. And yeah, I can see why. She's pretty, smart, part of the cheerleader club. I don't know much to say. I can't name a thing about why I like these guys. They're just so good. You're probably thinking because of how happy she is around people, she's sociable and stuff, you would think nothing can break her. Except you'd be wrong. So, I mentioned before that Yuta had a crush on her before, right? Well, he did not even realize how perfect they would be. Because Nibatani herself had a crazy Chunibyo past where she was the mythical magician Mori Summer. And she would, I guess, post her quotes. She would post her quotes on the internet, which Dekamori was a fan of. She even printed it out on a freaking book called the Mabinogi, which what Nibatani was after when she went to Yuta's house. And I like how when he knew Nibatani was looking for this book, he finds it and knows that she wants it back. He just decides to read it to see how embarrassing it is. And of course Nibatani is screaming in the background, like begging for him to stop. And I'm like, dude. But yeah, like I said, Dekamori was a fan of Mori Summer's work. And even Nibatani admitted that she was Mori Summer, Deko does not take it seriously and she doesn't believe her. And this is why I say Deko was bold. She has the freaking audacity to be like, don't let that name come out your mouth again, or filthy mouth. That was the first time I thought, well dang Deko, you were kind of being rude there. There's no need to worry about the Mabinogi that Nibatani destroyed in front of Yuta's eyes. Because Dekamori basically made an extra copy, if not from Rika's, I guess, warning, hundreds of the Mabinogi. I've remembered this thought for how many years after watching the show. And, you know, ever since this was the case, Nibatani and Dekamori have been at each other's throats throughout the time. Where Nibatani, without, I guess, telling anybody else, is trying to convince Dekamori that she was Mori Summer. Objection! But Dekamori doesn't take her seriously and always calls her fake Mori Summer, which I feel sorry for her. And also, yes, this is a love-hate relationship that I would love to get to, I guess, speak more upon in the future. But I feel like I think I'm forgetting somebody. Oh yeah, Makoto Ishiki. So Makoto Ishiki, as I like to call him, the homie of homeboys, he was basically Yuta's first best friend, or his first friend when he got to the new school. Like I mentioned before, he transferred to a whole new school where nobody recognized him, and the fact that Ishiki was the first person he talked to, I guess Yuta was still recovering from the whole Chunibyo thing. He's just an honorable man, I gotta say. He's just the best man. He should have been. You know what? I calm myself down. I feels like I'm giving this side character more credit than he needs to, and I guess from the show's perspective, it seems that way. No, wait. It definitely seems that way. I won't touch on different things because I want to talk about one episode that shines Ishiki into more than a spotlight, honestly. But I guess to be brief, he did something so crazy, so awesome, that watching the scene to this day has brought me in tears. But that's probably a whole different story for another day. All I gotta say is that this man is just the best kind of guy. He's the best character because he's a good friend to Yuta, and I appreciate him for that. I respect him for that, if anything. And how the show treats him at the end of, by, I guess, season 2. Yeah, it's just sad at this point. Okay, I think with all the the main characters being said, except for Toka, who, like I said, is Rika's big sister, who, of course, isn't a big fan of Rika being in Chunibyo State, but I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I'll get to other things. Which, I'm gonna tell you. Yeah. With Yuta being whole protective of Rika and being like, stop trying to act like this. I guess it's kind of funny, but not when Toka does it. Toka is legitimately sick of how Rika is like this, even saying, learn the difference between fantasy and reality. The more I keep saying she hates this, the more I'm leading to the point. Rika's goal, at least in season 1, was to locate the invisible boundary lines, which means something more. In fact, it kind of hits her hard when she first meets Yuta and she sees that he's trying to get rid of his old Chunibyo stuff. Like, Yuta's like, all this stuff doesn't matter, but Rika's like, it does. And you can just see Rika's sad face like, please don't throw it away. And Yuta being some sort of a caring tsundere, like, fine, it's not like I'm keeping it, don't get the wrong idea, I may well sell it to an auction. And he never did, let's just say that. It's like the more I see this, the more how Yuta is definitely a perfect person for Rika. He's not the person who would shove the whole message down the face like Toka does, but he's nice and lets it down gently. They're just so good. They're just so good together. But with that being said, though, I won't spoil a thing because I highly recommend this show and I really want you to know why I really consider this a gateway ending. I guess with my new review fashion for videos, I tried to name down some points that I would talk about whenever I do another anime review. So basically it's gonna be like this: story, characters, animation, and voice acting, dialogue. So starting off with story. Like I said before, the story was so intriguing that even young me got into it when he did. This was made around 2012, which I thought was kind of funny because I was around that time. That was around the time where I saw like Haruhi Suzumiya as one of my first animes. Not really, but you get the picture. I guess that's why I kind of saw it around 2017 in my middle school days, because by the time I did, it was dubbed. But more on that later. The story was honestly pretty intriguing that even young me got into it. That's probably the only compliment I could give, that even young me, who had to see things twice, got into it, and I knew things the second time around. I guess the main story with Rika and Yuta is kind of sad. I guess with Toka as well. It's kind of sad, and it does talk about another message involving, I don't know, and I don't want to say. It just hits deep, and I felt like it does this certain message pretty well, and it just makes sense. I really don't agree with Toga's actions, but you know the thing. characters. Like I mentioned, with all of them so far, all the characters are unique, funny, and just amazing in their own ways. Like I mentioned before, I love how Rika and Dekamori act. Kumin's always the good spirit one. Niratani is hilarious. And when I was a kid, I thought I could relate to Yuta. And like I mentioned before, Ishiki is the best homie, which I have to give some credit for him in another video later. The animation. Considering the studio was Kyoto Animation, I want to say it's nothing new, but it's still impressive for me to see. And funny enough, they made a bunch of animes that I've probably seen around my childhood, like, again, Haruhi Suzumiya. But, I mean, it's not that bad. The designs are really cute and, what was it, detailing? They just look freaking neat. Like I said, this was my gateway anime, but it wasn't my first, so I could have assumed it looked different. I don't even know, it just looks pretty nice with the designs of the characters and everything. And I forgot to mention also, when, let's see, Rika, Dekamori go into their whole Chunibyo state, they have these fantasy secrets where it looks like they're actually fighting each other with badass, long-looking weapons, which I kind of found cliche because I thought this is what anime would have, like some sort of very giant-looking weapon. I saw a lot of weird things as a kid. But it still looks cool actually seeing it up to this day, and considering I watch action anime now. But yeah, it looked definitely nice. And voice acting and dialogue. Like I mentioned with a couple of them so far, Margaret McDowell and Brendan Karbowski, they really light up their characters in this show. Like I already mentioned how Rika sounds pretty cool, and I love Brendan Karbowski's work with Dekamori. She even voices a couple of characters like Rimuru Tempest or Cammy from My Hero Academia, which, once again, actually I think she puts on like different tones of voice, or I don't even know. No, but she's just cool. The voice casting for the show is amazing that actually whenever I choose to watch another anime dub, or whenever I do see one, I kind of branch it off up to here. Like, if I see another anime that had Brendan Karbowski in it, I connect it back to say, oh hey, Dekamori, you know, like a geek for say. And the dialogue, I guess, not like I can show it, it's fine. I don't know what to say. I feel like the one piece of dialogue I could mention from an episode would be from episode 6, but that would be a deep episode for me. I don't know, I just don't want to talk about it anymore. But at the end of the day, this will always be my favorite gateway anime. And I guess I should answer the question I said before. How is this better than Sekirei? Well, I guess a certain basis it's not. In my opinion, it is. The point is, Sekirei, like I mentioned before, showed me how lewd anime can be. Not that it was a bad thing, because I've grown used to it at this point, but Chunibyo kind of sat me down. Basically, Sekirei was like Toka, and I'm like Rika, where Toka's shoving the fact of how lewd and crazy and how bold anime can be with, I don't even know, it was just by cliche, I don't freaking know. But then Yuta is basically Chunibyo, and I'm just sitting with him all like, this is interesting. And this is a bad metaphor. I guess you could say that watching the show has opened the light to me on how beautiful and I guess how good of a story anime can tell. It's not like I hated anime in the past, I was just curious about it, but I felt like I didn't want to get too curious, or I would look at something I'm not supposed to see. But it was worth it to watch this show. And of course, staying up at night to watch the show. Do I look back on the show to this day? Hell yeah. And would I do reviews on the movies if I wanted to? Oh yeah, of course. And yes, like I said, I did see both series before in the movies, which, yeah, I could have found a way to see the movies, but I still did. There might be still more for it, but I don't even know. But with that being said, I am so glad I got to talk about this anime. I was going to do some sort of top 10 list and I guess talk about my favorite anime of all time, but that would probably be a little bit long. And with that being said, guys, I am so glad I got this video off my chest. I had so many, I had so much anxiety when it came to doing anime reviews that I've held it off ever since like 2017. And the fact that I got to do this now, and the fact that I'm organized with it, or that I know what to do, I think I'm pretty confident with doing it in the future. And who knows, like I've probably teased before many times, I will talk about Chunibyo in the future. Just, I guess, with certain episodes even. Yeah, I'll probably do that. But thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed this review, have any tips for me, leave it down in the comments below. And subscribe to join the newly found Weeb Nation. And hit the bell and the like button on your way out the door. And Blue Blade 19 is out. Oh yeah, almost forgot this is my birthday. By the time you probably watch this video, I'm probably doing something birthday related. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, Blue Blade 19 is out. Peace!